Echoes of the Last Sunset. Chapter 1, The Prophecy. Maya Patel stood on the rooftop of her lab, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The orange glow cast long shadows across the city of New San Francisco, a stark contrast to the gleaming skyscrapers and sprawling solar farms that had become her world. At 32, Maya was already one of the leading climate scientists in the world, her work on atmospheric carbon capture earning her both accolades and death threats. For years, scientists like her had warned about the consequences of climate change, but the world had continued on its reckless path. Now, in 2052, the effects were undeniable. Rising sea levels had reshaped coastlines, extreme weather patterns had devastated agriculture, and millions of climate refugees roamed the planet seeking safe haven. As she descended the stairs, her neural implant buzzed with a notification. She blinked twice to bring up the holographic display, "Solar flare expected to hit Earth." The words sent a chill down her spine. Solar flares had become more frequent and intense in recent years, a side effect of the weakening magnetosphere. Maya. Tom's voice echoed from the lab below. "You need to see this." She quickened her pace, her mind racing. Tom Chen, her best friend since college and the team's lead engineer, was hunched over a holographic display, his face pale in the blue light. "What is it?" Maya asked, peering at the complex data streams. Tom's voice was barely above a whisper. "I've been running simulations on the solar flare. If these calculations are correct, this isn't just another flare. It's a super flare. And it's going to hit us hard." Maya felt the weight of his words settle on her shoulders. "How bad?" "Global blackout. Complete technological collapse. And that's just the beginning." As the implications sank in, Maya realized that everything they had been working towards, their carbon capture technology, their plans to reverse climate change, might all be for nothing. The world as they knew it was about to change forever. Chapter 2, The Collapse. The next morning, chaos erupted. The super flare had hit with devastating force, knocking out power grids and frying electronics across the globe. Maya awoke to a world of silence, no humming appliances, no distant traffic, just the growing sounds of panic in the streets below. She quickly gathered her team at the lab: Tom, Lila Nguyen, a brilliant medical student, and Raj Sharma, a former military officer turned environmental activist. As they met in the dimly lit lab, the gravity of their situation became clear. "We need to think about survival now," Raj said, his voice steady despite the panic around them. "Food, water, shelter. The city will become a war zone within days." Lila, always the optimist, spoke up. "What about our work? All our research, we can't just abandon it." Maya felt torn. Their work could potentially save millions, but what good was it if they didn't survive to implement it? She made a quick decision. "We'll take what we can carry: data drives, key components." But Raj is right. "We need to focus on survival first." As they prepared to leave, Maya caught a glimpse of herself in a darkened computer screen. The face that looked back at her was no longer just a scientist, it was a survivor. Chapter 3, The Journey Begins. The streets of New San Francisco had transformed overnight. Abandoned vehicles clogged the roads, their useless electric engines silent. People wandered in a daze, some already turning to looting and violence. Maya and her team moved quickly, keeping to side streets and alleyways. Their first stop was a small grocery store. The windows were already smashed, but they managed to salvage some canned goods and bottled water. As they emerged, a group of men approached, eyes fixed on their supplies. Raj stepped forward, his stance protective. "We don't want trouble," he said firmly. The leader of the group, a tall man with a jagged scar across his cheek, sneered. "Then hand over what you've got, and there won't be any." For a tense moment, violence seemed inevitable. Then, a scream pierced the air, followed by the sound of shattering glass. Further down the street, a larger mob had formed, breaking into a pharmacy. The men turned towards the commotion, and Maya's group seized the opportunity to slip away. As they hurried towards the city outskirts, Lila asked, her voice shaking, "Where are we going?" Raj pointed towards the distant mountains. "There's an old military bunker in the Sierra Nevadas. If it's still intact, it could be our best chance for long-term survival." Tom looked skeptical. "That's over 200 miles away. How are we supposed to get there?" Maya squared her shoulders, a plan already forming in her mind. "One step at a time. We'll find a way." As they left the city behind, the enormity of their journey ahead began to sink in. The world they knew was gone, replaced by a landscape of uncertainty and danger. But as Maya looked at her friends, Tom's determination, Lila's compassion, Raja's strength, she felt a glimmer of hope. Together, they might just have a chance. Chapter 4: Unexpected Allies. 3 days into their journey, as they navigated the abandoned suburbs of Sacramento, Maya's group encountered another band of survivors. Dil and Kanchi Subramaniam, along with their 10-year-old son Arjun, were fleeing the chaos of the cities. Initial mistrust gave way to cautious alliance as they realized the benefits of joining forces. Dil, a former construction worker, had practical skills that proved invaluable. Kanchi, once a botany professor, had an encyclopedic knowledge of edible plants that expanded their food options. One evening, as they shared a meal of roasted acorns and wild berries, Arjun asked the question that had been on everyone's minds. Will things ever go back to normal? A heavy silence fell over the group. It was Maya who finally spoke. No, Arjun. Things won't go back to the way they were. But that doesn't mean we can't build something new, something better. As the days passed, their unlikely family grew closer. They shared stories of their past lives, their hopes, and their fears. Maya found herself opening up about the pressure she had felt as a scientist, the weight of trying to save a world that often seemed determined to destroy itself. Maybe this is a chance for a fresh start, Kanchi mused one night, gazing at the stars that seemed brighter now without light pollution. A chance to rebuild society in harmony with nature. Maya nodded, but she couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenges still lay ahead. Chapter 5: The Hidden Laboratory. After weeks of grueling travel, facing everything from violent storms to desperate bandits, the group finally reached the Sierra Nevada mountains. The military bunker Raj had spoken of was nowhere to be found, but they discovered something potentially more valuable, a hidden research facility nestled in a remote valley. The facility, overgrown and seemingly abandoned for years, bore the faded logo of a long-defunct tech company. As they cautiously explored its depths, Maya's excitement grew. The labs were filled with advanced technology that had somehow survived the electromagnetic pulse of the superflare. "This is incredible," she breathed, examining a row of sleek machines. "These look like quantum processors, far more advanced than anything we had in New San Francisco." Tom was equally amazed. "And look at this," he called from across the room. "It's some kind of atmospheric manipulation device. Maya, I think this could be used to enhance your carbon capture technology." As they delved deeper into the facility's secrets, they discovered files detailing experiments in climate control, renewable energy, and even terraforming. It was a treasure trove of scientific knowledge that could potentially help them not just survive, but thrive in this new world. But their excitement was tempered by a sobering realization. The facility's logs indicated that the scientists had abandoned their work in a hurry, leaving behind cryptic warnings about unforeseen consequences and ethical concerns. Maya felt a familiar weight settle on her shoulders. Once again, she found herself at the crossroads of scientific progress and moral responsibility. The power to reshape the world was at their fingertips, but at what cost? Chapter 6: Moral Dilemmas. As they worked to understand and utilize the facility's technology, tensions began to rise within the group. The potential of their discovery brought out conflicting viewpoints and hidden agendas. Raj argued for using the technology to create a fortified safe haven. We could use the atmospheric controls to create a protective bubble around this valley. We'd be safe from storms, temperature fluctuations, even airborne diseases. Lila, however, was concerned about the broader implications. But what about everyone else out there? We have a responsibility to use this knowledge to help as many people as possible. Tom was torn between his excitement over the technological possibilities and his concerns about unintended consequences. We've seen what happens when we rush to implement technology without fully understanding it. We could end up making things worse. The debate raged for days, with Maya feeling pulled in every direction. She understood Raj's desire for safety, Lila's sense of moral obligation, and Tom's caution. But she also felt the weight of her own ambition, the temptation to use this technology to finally achieve what she had always dreamed of, reversing the damage done to the planet. Conchi and Dil, initially hesitant to involve themselves in what they saw as a scientific debate, eventually weighed in. "We need to think about the world we're creating for Arjun," Conchi said softly. "Is it one of isolation and fear, or one of hope and community?" As the arguments continued, Maya spent long hours poring over the facility's data, trying to find a solution that would satisfy everyone. But with each passing day, she felt the pressure mounting. They needed to make a decision, and soon. Little did they know, events beyond their control were about to force their hand. Chapter 7: The Rival Group. Their work was interrupted by the arrival of a rival group, led by a charismatic but dangerous man named Axel Brandt. Once a Silicon Valley tech mogul, Brandt had reinvented himself as a post-apocalyptic warlord, gathering a following with promises of restoring the old world order. Brandt's group had been tracking Maya and her friends, drawn by rumors of their scientific expertise. When they discovered the hidden facility, Brandt saw an opportunity to consolidate his power. "Imagine what we could do with this technology," Brandt said, his voice smooth as oil. "We could rebuild civilization, restore order to the chaos. All I ask is that you work for me." Maya could see the appeal in his words, the temptation of an easy solution. But she also saw the hunger for power in Brandt's eyes, the willingness to sacrifice others for his own gain. "And what about those who don't fit into your new order?" she challenged. "What happens to them?" Brandt's smile never wavered, but his eyes turned cold. "Progress always comes at a cost, Dr. Patel. I thought a scientist like you would understand that." The confrontation quickly escalated. Brandt's followers, armed with scavenged weapons, surrounded the facility. Maya and her friends found themselves trapped, forced to use the very technology they had been debating as a means of defense. As the siege stretched on, the moral dilemmas they had been grappling with took on new urgency. The technology could be used as a weapon, potentially ending the conflict quickly but at a terrible cost. Or they could stand by their principles and risk losing everything. In the heat of conflict, alliances were tested, secrets were revealed, and each member of the group was forced to confront their deepest fears and strongest convictions. Chapter 8: Sacrifice and Hope. The final confrontation came as a storm raged outside the facility. Brandt's forces had breached the outer defenses, and the battle had moved inside the labs. Amid the chaos of flashing energy weapons and failing force fields, Maya made a desperate gamble. She initiated a sequence in the atmospheric control device, one that would create a localized electromagnetic pulse. It would disable all the advanced technology in the facility, including the very machines they had hoped would save the world. But it would also stop Brandt and prevent the technology from falling into the wrong hands. As the countdown began, Maya realized someone would have to stay behind to ensure the sequence completed. Without hesitation, Raj stepped forward. "I'll do it," he said, his voice steady. "Get everyone else out. This is what I was trained for." Tears streamed down Maya's face as she hugged her friend one last time. "We'll come back for you," she promised. As they fled the facility, the pulse activated. The ground shook, and a blinding light filled the sky. When it faded, the facility lay silent, its power gone. In the aftermath, Maya and the survivors were left to contemplate their next steps. They had lost the advanced technology, but they still had their knowledge, their skills, and each other. "We've lost so much," Lila said, her voice heavy with emotion. "But maybe we can build something better." Chapter 9, A New Dawn. In the months that followed, Maya and her group began the slow process of rebuilding. They used their scientific knowledge to create sustainable farming methods, to harness renewable energy sources, and to develop new medicines from local plants. Word of their work spread, and soon other survivors began to join them. The Hidden Valley became a beacon of hope in the post-apocalyptic world, a place where science and nature worked in harmony. They faced many challenges: harsh winters, disease outbreaks, and the ever-present threat of less peaceful groups. But they faced these challenges together, growing stronger with each obstacle overcome. 1 year after the pulse, as spring began to bloom in the valley, Maya stood on a hillside overlooking their flourishing community. Tom joined her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked softly. "Destroying the facility?" Maya was quiet for a moment, considering. "Sometimes," she admitted. "I wonder if we could have done more with that technology. But then I look at what we've built here, how we've learned to live in balance with the world instead of trying to control it, and I think maybe this was always the path we needed to take." As the sun rose, painting the sky in brilliant hues of pink and gold, Maya felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The world had ended, yes. But from its ashes, a new world was beginning. And this time, they had a chance to get it right. "It's not the end," she said softly, echoing words she had spoken so long ago. "It's a new beginning." And as she looked out over the valley, at the faces of friends who had become family, at the green fields and clear skies, Maya knew that whatever challenges the future held, they would face them together. In the echoes of the last sunset of the old world, they had found the dawn of something new, something hopeful. And that, she realized, was the greatest discovery of all.
Subscribe for more.